it gets us into trouble when we think we don't understand that our lens is our lens, right? So we think that everyone is just walking around the world with our lens, right? And this is when, if you are frustrated, and I know everybody has been in this place, where like, why doesn't this person understand? Why can't, maybe these words have come out of your mouth, I just don't understand why you can't see it from my perspective. Well, nobody's gonna see it from your perspective because nobody's walked through the world at this time with your experiences, encountering the information that you're encountering, right? No one in human history is gonna go through the world and see it through your lens, because your lens is uniquely yours. Welcome to the Storycraft Podcast for storytellers. I'm your host, Meg Adams, and I'm here to help you explore how stories shape our connections. Wondering how stories help you network and advance? Looking to bridge online and face-to-face worlds, foster understanding, and ignite innovation? Look no further. Whether you're a leader, communicator, educator, or just love a good story, join us for actionable insights and real talk with professional storytellers, all aimed at helping you build stronger, better connections. Today, I am here to talk to you, whenever you're listening to this podcast, about one of my favorite concepts related to storytelling, which is the idea of deterministic screens. If you want to learn more about this, listen to my TEDx talk, because I talk a lot about the idea of deterministic screens. I write about it a lot, but I really value this perspective. It's something I learned about in grad school because it helps us understand how stories shape our perspective. So our perspective, or the way that we see the world, is being shaped all the time. It's being shaped every day by a few things. Number one, it's being shaped by the experiences that we're having. Every minute, little, and big experience that we have shapes the way that we see the world. It colors, if you will, the way we view everything, which then shapes our behavior. Ooh. So if you think about that, I did a because when I first heard this theory, I first was like, it was starting to sink in about how my perspective shapes the way that I see the world. I started to think about how that was kind of negative, but it can be positive too, which we're going to get into in this podcast. But first, let's just talk about what a deterministic screen is. If we understand that our perspective is shaped by our experiences, and I forgot. The other thing that our perspective is shaped by, we have our experiences, right? Everything that's happening to us on a daily basis, the major experiences that we've had in our life, throughout our life, can either solidify what we think about the world or challenge us a little bit to think about the way that we see the world. The other thing that affects that perspective, colors it, is the way that I like to think about it, are the things that we choose. So, and this is interesting because I think this is coming into play a lot more in the current environment that we are in right now. But these are the things that we allow to reinforce again or complicate and challenge our experiences in life. So things like the podcasts that you choose to listen to, the television shows that you watch, the news at this point, what news, I'm also using air quotes, that's a whole nother podcast. But the news stations that you choose to receive information from, algorithms that share information based on what we've liked in the past, all of that comes together to shape your perspective. And how your perspective works is like a filter. So your experiences, along with those other things that you let in, so again, all the outside information that you get, goes through the filter to create your perspective. So I like to think of it as to create a lens. And your lens is how you see the world. That is your deterministic screen. Your deterministic screen is where the information is being filtered. It's the screen, again, I just like a lens because we're camera people, the screen that colors the way that you see the world. Okay, I'm just gonna pause because this is the point in class where I would say, does anyone have any questions about that? If you do, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer them. Okay, we had to pause the podcast to let you in on this opportunity. If you're ready to elevate your brand storytelling, don't miss our training, Tell Better Stories, led by me, a seasoned television journalist and PR professor, and Kyle, an on-air meteorologist and video storytelling expert. This workshop unveils our secrets to craft compelling, personal-driven narratives that resonate with your audience. Learn our distinct approach that puts people first and brands second, leveraging 6 storytelling elements for maximum impact. Walk away with actionable strategies, tactics, and a clear process to replicate success in any organization. Check out the show notes to learn more about this offer or reach out to homeplacecreative@gmail.com. But if we can establish that as an idea, what I was sort of teasing a minute ago, which was, oh no, when I heard this concept, the first thing that came to my mind was like, uh-oh, I see how this gets us into trouble. I see this gets us into trouble because it gets us into trouble when we think we don't understand that our lens is our lens, right? So we think that everyone is just walking around the world with our lens, right? And this is when, if you are frustrated, and I know you all have, everybody has been in this place where like, why doesn't this person understand? Why can't, maybe these words have come out of your mouth. I just don't understand why you can't see it from my perspective. Well, nobody's gonna see it from your perspective because nobody's walked through the world at this time with your experiences, encountering the information that you're encountering, right? No one in human history is gonna go through the world and see it through your lens because your lens is uniquely yours. Which brings me to the exciting part of this idea, which is that your lens is uniquely yours, which means that you see the world in a way that only you can, because no one has had those specific experiences that you've had. And no one has lived at this time, in this place, with this information that you have. And so where storytelling comes into all this is storytelling allows us to get a glimpse. Now, it's a curated glimpse, right? Because we don't always share all of us all the time, and memory is faulty. We know that. But storytelling allows us to bridge perspectives. So it gives us, when there is that story exchange, it gives us I like to use the word like a glimpse or a nugget of somebody else's perspective. For a second, or for a time, or for an instance, we can see the world through their eyes. I'm never gonna go through the world as a man. I am a white woman. So I'm not gonna have the same experiences as many other people, but when they share their story with me, when I listen to them, I can now imagine what their experience of the world might. That doesn't mean that I have their experience. It just means that now I can see, and hopefully, once I understand, a little bit more about whatever their struggles are, what their experiences were, their stories, then I can have empathy, right? All of a sudden, I like to think of it as my lens widens, right? I'm not going through the world with blinders on. If I'm going through the world and I don't understand that somebody else's perspective is completely different than mine and I don't have empathy or compassion for that, then I am essentially, being my own worst enemy when it comes to relationship building or communication. I mean, this is a key piece. You have to understand that everybody is going to have a different perspective than you, but instead of seeing that as something that's a negative, see it as a positive, because you can learn from that person. And if they are willing to give you the beautiful gift that is a story, receive it. Receive it in a way that will help you broaden and build your perspective. Now those blinders are up a little more. Oh, I love it. I always say the best stories are the ones that complicate things for us. They're the ones that challenge us, But that means that, in today's day and age, we get a choice about what stories we let in, right? We get a choice to get information where we want to get it. And so we have a choice to be around people. And I would challenge you, if you find yourself constantly in a cycle where your ideologies and your experiences are just being circled back to you, whether that's through the relationships that you have in person, the type of people that you're around, that you choose to be around, or the places that you get information. If you're not challenging yourself a little bit, then you are going to be, if you're watching this on video, I have my hands around my face, you are going to be walking through the world essentially with blinders on. You have to make a choice to be around people who think, love, pray, act differently than you. And it's not easy. It's hard because they're not like you. But if you can approach the situation with kindness and openness, and you carry yourself in that way of understanding that my truth, the way that I see the world, is not the truth, right? My way is not the right way because it's not the only way. Well, then we can finally get to the point where we can start having conversations that will actually solve some of our problems. So that's where I'm at. I know those conversations are hard. I do try to put myself in those positions all the time. And it's an active choice. It's a choice. So I would suggest, you do the same and let me know how it goes. I will do another podcast if you want. So let me know about some of the ways that I am instituting that in my own life, trying to be better at being around people who are different than me, choosing, to listen to things or watch things. I mean, that's what's great about today too. We have access to so much information, but there's nothing better than being with the person or directly, interacting with the person who's sharing their story with you in real time. So if you're looking for more of those experiences, you want to know more about terministic screens, I'll leave you with this. It was by the scholar who developed that term. His name was Kenneth Burke. So if you want to look that up and read more about terministic screens, feel free. And if you like this episode, reach out to me. Let me know. We will do more of these if you want to know more. So, and again, always happy to hear your thoughts. And if they're different than mine, that's even better. Thanks. We're so glad you've listened to this podcast episode. If you liked it, would you mind doing us a favor? Share this episode with someone who would be interested in the topic too. We're on a mission to help everyone become a better storyteller. And don't forget to subscribe to the show to get updated every time we release a new episode. Each and every episode is produced, hosted, and edited by us, Meg and Kyle Adams at Home Place Creative. Happy storytelling.